I too rowdy?
I know. I guess that's a good thing. I don't know.
Sat down where the thing were. We can sit in the sunlight.
I know those lights are bright.
I didn't see on the agenda. I didn't know if they told her. I didn't know how that works. They asked me to interview and I declined because I danced with Genevieve and I was like, I don't think that would be fair to either candidate. So I just wanted you to know.
All right, Phil, can you gavel us? All right, we'll call this meeting to order with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we are opening tonight with some recognition in our district. We are going to start with the boys volleyball team. Do you guys and your coaches want to come on up here? I guess let me rephrase that. Come up here. So our team this year was undefeated in league play, and they were the Wyoming Valley Conference champions for varsity. And even JV, I believe they only lost 2, I think. So this was a huge accomplishment for them. And unfortunately, we're losing Jacob Steffan this year, but everybody else returns for next year. So 2023 is looking pretty bright. So I've got certificates for all of you guys. Eli Bennett. Congratulations. Merrick Bertram. Phoenix Bertram. Marcus Spinner. There you go. Sean Cattell. Oh, Sean's not here. Connor McBain.
I see how it is.
You do see how it is. Zachary McBain. Yep. You have to hug the person who birthed you. Shane Macko. Congratulations. Brandon Matus. Brandon's not here. And we have Dylan Matus, who is also unable to be here tonight. Levi Montero. Levi's not here tonight. Evanston Myers. Congratulations, Evanston. Thomas Nichols. Hello, you're all right. Tyler Shagelski. Congratulations. Brady Slackdish. Jacob Steffi. Aiden West. Aiden's not here, all right. Logan Zadanowitz, not here. Do we miss somebody? I think all the players got it. We have our wonderful statisticians that helped keep this season going with Julie Root and Emma Elias. And the coaches this year, Mark Slackdish is somewhere. He was our head coach this year. Justin McBain was our JV assistant coach and wasn't on the payroll, but we had Nate Root here who was, I don't think he missed a game. So great job, guys. Can't wait to see what you do next year. All right, next we have the district girls track team. Do we have anybody here for girls track? Come on up. So Jessica Cervenek won't be here tonight, but she was first in the 100 and 200, second in the 4x100 relay, and she's not here tonight because she's competing at states. So best of luck to Jessica. Next, I guess she's not here tonight because I only see Lorelei. We have Noelle Alguar, and she was second in the 100, fourth in the long jump, and second in the 4x100 relay. Next we have, I'll let the certificates tell me who we have next, Paige Adams. Second in the 4x100 relay. Emma Ergot was also second in the 4x100 relay. And then we have Lorelei Paxton, who was second in javelin. Congratulations. All right, next we have the Quiz Bowl. Where are they? Come on up. Our Quiz Bowl team were the state winners, and they're going to nationals in Atlanta, Georgia in June. And Mr. Keown provided us with your medals that arrived for you as well tonight. So first we have Ben Shilson. Ben Shilson's not here. All right, well then who wants to have his medal? You get to have two. Eric Falzone. Congratulations. Zach Kaiser. Thank you. Congratulations. Victoria Slusard. Congratulations. Jordan Wagner. Congratulations, Jordan. And Anna Wilson. Congratulations, Anna. Great job, guys and gals. Next on the student recognition, and not certainly least, the robotics team. I see they've got a whole setup here for us. So do you guys want certificates first, or do you guys want to talk first? All right, come on up. We have Eric Arndt. Congratulations. I'm just going to go off the certificates. Avery Bowers. Not here. Emily Campbell. Congratulations. Peyton Evans. Livia Forba. Great job. Alexis Harding. Congratulations. Cora Milner, not here. And Hannah, I'm guessing, is also not here tonight. Also Hannah Milner. Sean Murock, not here. Aiden Paulman. Congratulations. Megan Rickaby, not here, all right. And then Brittany Sackman, also not here, okay. Now, this team, they won a meet in New Jersey. I'm sure Mr. Howell is going to talk about that. It was in New Jersey, right? And you've also competed and placed in other ones as well, right? Perfect. All right, well, I'll step away and you can have, Chuck, can you give him that mic?
Okay, well, again, we just wanted to come tonight and give a quick demonstration. We'll try to be as brief as possible, but we do have an introductory video, okay, that one of our students put together with the help of the others, and we're going to allow them to get that ready. But, you know, we are the Tigertrons. We've been around for a long time now, okay? This is our, since 1997, we've been actually working in the FIRST robotics, but in 1999, we began to be the Tunkhannock Area High School robotics team. And I tried to lay out before you all of our accomplishments in a sheet of paper for you folks on the board here tonight. So you can see that we've been very active since then, and we've accomplished a lot. This year, we obviously won a competition in New Jersey. I'm very proud of that. The kids worked really hard for 6 weeks plus in the evening, okay, from 6 until 9 o'clock in most evenings, and then on the weekends, pretty much a 9-hour day, both Saturday and Sunday. So they put in a lot of effort there, okay, and you can see the result there. We'll demonstrate that for you in a few minutes. We also competed in another competition for the Mid-Atlantic Region Championship, okay, held at Lehigh University. And that was so that we could qualify to get to the World Championships in Houston. However, we fell just short of the cutoff. They take 20 teams, and we were number 26 this year. So again, we were very proud of what we accomplished there, but we did win a nice award there. It was kind of a surprise to all of us. We were announced, but we had actually not been there at the time they were giving out the awards, so they gave it to one of our mentors who was still there. And that was for the Team Spirit Award. So that brings back a lot of memories, because in 2003 we won the National Team Spirit Award. So it was very, very, very much appreciated that these kids would get that spirit of FIRST Robotics. Okay, so let's introduce our team a little bit here quickly, and we'll go from there. Okay, go ahead.
scheduling as we try to build a robot in less than 6 weeks or more. And with all the team building and machinery, we're definitely a lot of work.
And with that, we have Emily put that together for us, did the interviews and so forth. So we have different aspects of the team shown there. But I would just like to take the opportunity, a couple of my students would like to say some words of thank you to our school board, and I have one mentor that would like to do the same, okay? Actually, I have 3 mentors with us, 4 mentors with us. If you guys would just stand for a moment. Scott Campbell from Foth, and Vicky Forba, okay, is one of our team moms, and Barbara Sick, he works here at the school. Albert Diamond, retired P&G, and over here is Robert Hugg, okay? He's going to come and introduce himself a little bit more to you, okay? So, Olivia, you want to come up and just share your insight, please?
I'm Livia Forba. I am in 10th grade, and I'm 16 currently. I would like to thank the community for just all the effort that you put in to believe us and will fund us also to build an amazing machine that we were able to compete and win a competition with. I would also just like to thank everybody that came here and listened to our presentation, and hope that we are able to show off the robot a little bit, and so that way you can see why you support us and why you want to continue to support us.
My name is Emily Campbell. I am in 8th grade. I am currently the youngest person on our team, being 13 years old. I got to work with a lot of things that I never got to work with before on this team, and I am very grateful for that opportunity. I have learned so much, and my schooling has been increased in that ability, I guess. But I'm very grateful for all of the opportunities I've been given by being on this team, and I'd like to thank you for all of the support we've been given in the past and all of the future support. And that's all.
I'm Robert Hugg, like Mr. Scott Howe was telling. I have been a mentor for 5 years. I am a 2012 grad of Tunkhannock, and I took all of his engineering courses. But the one thing that I stress to students is the one thing I miss out on was robotics. I went to Penn State, 5 years of engineering, and have been working in the industry for 5 years. And every day I'm back with the students, I am still learning. And it's just amazing how much you learn with robotics. And it's not just building engineering, but every facet. Like, we've started videography, and the amount of communication. We go against these, all against teams across the country, and these students go up against teams and they compete. And then they have to talk to judges, and they just great at talking to judges, which is kind of one of the big things. Is it's not just engineering, it's life, right? Every day of life you have to communicate with people. And I want to thank this school, thank the board members, the admin, and all the community for supporting this, because I know a lot of engineers out there that didn't have this, and the opportunities at this school is by far the best I've ever seen. So I'm going to stop talking now, because I could talk all night, and let the students show off their excellent skills.
So a very quick demonstration here of the capability of this robot. It was built to play a game, as we have to every year. And every year it's a different game, so we have to redesign the entire package to be able to do this and build from scratch. Obviously it has to move around, it has to be able to pick balls up, okay, and we call them cargo, okay, because of the theme. It was a transportation theme. So they're going to pick up a few cargo, come back into a shooting position, and shoot into a goal. Okay, we just happen to bring that down. That's not the typical goal that we would be working with, okay? But just a quick demonstration so you can see it in action, okay, and then we'll turn it back over here. Okay? Okay, go ahead. So you're going to see Eric is our main driver. He's in 8th grade, okay? And Livia is the co-driver. She helps with the shooting aspect of things. So they basically try to get into that sweet spot, just like in basketball, okay, and get it lined up, okay? A lot of our competitors will use some type of sensor, okay? And you can see how accurate we are without any sensor. Yep, go ahead and get 2 there. Yep, you grab, drop it. There you go. All right, and they were very, very accurate with this, the very first competition that we were at, and you can see it's even better now. We actually had to redesign our front intake. It got destroyed in the first competition that we won. So we had 1 week to actually come back and redesign and build a new front intake. It completely got destroyed, like I said. So those are the main functions. There is a hanging mechanism. We had to be able to reach up to a bar and pull ourselves off the floor, okay, at the end of the match, and we were very capable of doing that too. 6 for 6, that's not bad, so, all right. So that's our robot for this year, and we would entertain questions or anything like that you might have, but, you know, depending on time that you want us, okay, so.
Did you, I don't know if you said it before, how many years have we had a Tigertrons program at Tunkhannock?
Okay, at Tunkhannock specifically, we started in 1999, okay, but actually in 1917, we were part of a, 1997, okay, you know what I mean, okay, come on, figure it out, okay. Anyway, we were a part of a group from Northeast Pennsylvania. There were 7 schools, I believe, at the time, and they called themselves the Littles. It was an acronym of all the different schools. And we only could have 6 kids involved at the time. And at the time, we decided that we would like to have more of our student body be able to have this opportunity. So that's when we branched out and started our own team here in 1999. And again, very successful through the years. You know, according to that sheet, you can read down through that sheet. I don't want to toot our horn too much, but we've won a national title for the Team Spirit Award in 2003. 2009, we were 3rd in the world championships that year. 2019, okay, we were 2nd in our division at the World Championships and 12th overall. So going against some very big schools throughout the world, okay, and you're talking about some technologically advanced countries, Israel, China, okay, Canada. Very competitive. We are right there with them in that very small shop that we have in my classroom. And compared to the other teams, we do a phenomenal job keeping it simple and doing the tasks. One of our goals is to get more sensor-oriented. We noticed this year that teams were using a lot of different sensors, okay, to operate things, such as lining it up to get a shot off. Okay, we do that by eye, and you know, we're very accurate with it that way, but we could be better. So hopefully in the future you'll see more technologically advanced Tigertrons. Okay, other question?
I'm going to just hop in. Mr. Howell was one shooter on the board, but I'm going to tell you before, because I think you folks need to know this. We have a young team. We have seniors on the team. We have 8th graders. We are competing against schools that are older kids. I mean, this year was a little bit different. There are some younger kids because of COVID, but we are very, very, very few schools have 8th graders on the team. Who are our 8th graders here today?
Raise your hands.
1, 2, 3, 8th graders. We have 8th graders. Not going to grow up, we have 8th graders doing our videography. So to have those students compete against seniors and juniors from other schools and win. When we say we won a competition, we won a district competition. It's not against a few schools, it was against
40.
40 schools. When we went to the district championship, we had to be in the top 50% to go, and we
we ended up with 26 out of
60
60
that were there.
But technically 120 teams because that's what's in our district. So we are with this very young team competing at the highest level, and that is thanks to the support of the school.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, again, I don't want to take up too much time, but, okay, any other questions? Okay, if you do, okay, you have my email. You can email me your questions, okay? I'd be glad to respond. Okay, thank you for your indulgence tonight. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, can you stage one photo with Max right now?
Okay, with,
Yeah, everybody just stand right.
okay, guys, come on over here quickly.
No, stand right with your robot. There we go, guys. 1, 2, and another one. 1, 2, 3. Gotcha. Thanks, guys.
Oh, by all means. All right. So we have one more group to recognize. I just wanted to correct myself, though. When I had said about the volleyball team, Jacob Steffi was the only senior that was on the varsity team, but Merrick Bertram is also a senior. So he, had his last year, and it was a great year for JV, too. So didn't want to leave that out there hanging. So I'm not sure if anybody has heard recently, but the music program at Tunkhannock Area School District has been nationally recognized by the National Association of Music Merchants as one of the best communities for music education. So tonight we're going to recognize our music staff, our music department staff. I was lucky enough when I was a student here, as well as I know other people up on stage, and I have children now in our music program, and I know that there are people on stage who have had children in our music program at Tunkhannock, and it grows and becomes bigger every year. The fact that we could go through COVID and come back with a music program was, and if anybody in here was in the audience for any of the music concerts in the high school this last week or two, you know what I'm talking about. Mr. Lucky will say that our music program here, at least the band, is the house that Chuck built, and he's talking about Chuck Perone, but I think Chuck would say, I couldn't do what you guys are doing now. So we have a phenomenal music program, and we want to acknowledge the staff that have made it that way. So first we have Mackenzie Anderson. I can't say something specific to all of them because I don't know everywhere everybody's assigned right now, but I do know that she handles 5th graders with instruments for the first time. So that is a special talent. Thank you so much.
Do you want me to stay?
Stay. If you need to conduct to feel more comfortable in front of people, by all means. All right, next we have our, I know she teaches chorus in the high school, and I know that she does a bang-up job, no pun intended, with the percussion group. We have Tara Kasparowski. Thank you so much. Next, this gentleman I know has bounced around a little bit with some of the consolidations, and he has planned awesome trips that I've been able to be a part of for the kids. And the children love him, Mr. Kevin Kreinberg. 7th, 8th, and 9th grade now. I'm not even sure. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank you. Next, we have our high school band director, who is a fountain of optimism that I didn't even know could exist in a human being. So that would be Mr. Ken Lucky. Thank you, sir. Someone who I am very certain grew up in the same music program with me, except she did a whole lot more with it than I ever did by the time I stopped pretending to play my clarinet and as a senior, is Mrs. Jennifer Newhart. She is teaching our littlest in the district. Thanks, Jenny. We did such a bang-up job with her, she sang at one of my weddings. And last, but certainly not least, a teacher that I was blessed to have when I was in the music program here, and I know others on stage were as well. Many in our community could say that, Mrs. Betsy Sprout. Thank you, Mrs. Sprout. So could we get one more round of applause for our music program at Tunkhannock? What's that? Who's that? What's that?
He's a vendor.
Oh, right here. Yeah, up here. If you want to stand up to your side here and face that way, whatever you prefer.
All righty. Well, good evening, distinguished board members, administrators, music educators. All of you do not know me, but my name is Tom Polakowski, and I'm your music education representative from Zeswitz Music. I'm here tonight to present the Best Communities in Music Education Award to Tunkhannock School District's Excellent Music Department. You know, I've worked very closely with them now for a number of years, and we've become quite close, and I know them very well. Mr. Lucky I've known previously, and really commend him on his efforts and everything that he does to build this program. So in recognition of that, we have a framed award for this evening. And just to give you a little background, the award is called the BCME Award for Best Communities in Music Education. And out of roughly 14,000 school districts in the nation, they're one of the very few. Matter of fact, I believe there was only 738 recipients of this award nationally. So it's quite a distinction for the school district, the board members, the administration, and the community to receive this award. So I proudly present this to the music department at Tunkhannock Area School District. Yeah, come on in, hey. Mr. Doherty, please join us.
Can you tip it downward a little bit? Sure. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3, go.
Very pleased to meet you. Very much to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
It's worth mentioning that it's not as though this is a program that Tunkhannock has submitted itself for in previous years and didn't make that achievement. This was the first year Mr. Lucky and this team put in for this award for the district and the community, and we were chosen. So that, I think, also speaks volumes. It's not like we just now met the bar. We were like, this exists? I bet you we could win, and here we are. So congratulations. Do I have a motion to adjourn? No? Okay. Can we bring those lights down as far as almost off looks like? Not these ones, the spotlights.
The spotlight, yeah. Right, the ones that are blinding us.
There, yeah, thank you.
I've seen spots with it.
I'm still just gonna see those lights the rest of the night, but. Okay. Before we move to the next item, which would be the superintendent's discussion, I want to announce that we had 2 executive sessions since our last meeting. One was on May 8th, and that was for strategy for our collective bargaining agreements. And one tonight, May 26th, for personnel, security issues, special ed litigation, and the collective bargaining agreement. Item number 5, maybe? I don't know where we're at now. Superintendent's discussion.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
It was there, but it was a little bit low.
Good evening, everyone.
There you are.
There we go. As always, I'm so thrilled to be a part of this. Seeing our students in everything they excel in is just such an exciting part of being superintendent for me. You know, when I look at the students that were just celebrated, we celebrated athletics, we celebrated academics in the quiz bowl, we celebrated robotics. I mean, how dynamic to have a high school where all these things are occurring. As always, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to address our school community, be it in person or via YouTube live. Congratulations to our students and staff members that were honored here this evening. The first thing I'm going to talk about, it's with a very heavy heart. A few days ago, an absolutely horrific event happened in Texas. A shooting occurred, and I'm sure you've all seen it at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. The assailant was an 18-year-old high school student who accessed the school through an open door. Made entry very easy. He then barricaded himself into a classroom where he proceeded to kill 19 children and 2 staff members. This is the absolute worst thing that can occur within any community. It's completely devastating. You know, over the past few weeks, my central administrative staff, we've been working on some changes and improvements to our security measures. We talk about it often, and how we would respond to different types of crisis situations. You know, the most important thing for everyone, even more so than reading and math and science, is that our students are safe and secure when they're in the care of the school district. I want our community to be aware that, you know, I want them to know we have armed security guards in all of our schools every single day. Additionally, we staff every event with armed security guards. That includes concerts, sporting events, talent shows, STEM nights, public meetings. Any type of scheduled event, we always have a strong security presence. All of our security guards are either retired state troopers or current police officers that work part-time for our district. We have 14 security guards on our staff. Help is never far. Our Director of Security, Rich Seberg, he takes his responsibilities and the safety of everybody on our campuses very seriously. We already have some safety and security and safety informational sessions. We already had this scheduled for one of the staff in-service days at the start of next school year. But it's ever more important when we see incidents like occur in Texas. Additionally, this evening, when I talk about ESSER 3 funding, you'll see that a portion of that grant is allocated to providing more secure entryways into our buildings. I also want everybody to know our district has a large amount, maybe 100 or more, high-definition cameras, both inside and outside of our buildings. There's a lot of surveillance that goes on in our school district. I'll also be working with our building administrators over the summer to develop some type of random search policy that we're going to use in our schools just to ensure that our kids remain safe. You know, while our hearts, and my heart, is saddened by the tragic events, or the tragic event in Texas, we need to use this as an opportunity for us to re-examine our building level security. I mean, please know, and this is from my heart, your child's safety is and will always remain my number one concern. The second item on my list today is, and I'm sorry, it just makes me very emotional thinking about that situation in Texas, but the second item on my list today is our budget that we're going to be talking about really next month. I've been working diligently to ensure that the final budget that will be passed next month, it provides for great educational experiences for our students, because that's always number one, and it's fiscally responsible for the taxpayers. You know, the reduction of taxes for P&G, it's going to hurt. And there's no other way to say it. In the increase in heating oil that we're seeing, that's going to make an impact. As everybody knows, right now, the cost of everything is going up. But I want you to know that we analyze the budget daily to make sure that we can produce the most efficient spending plan that we can. At last month's board meeting, there was some discussion about the high school curriculum guide. The passage of the guide is on tonight's agenda. And in reflection of myself, as I think about it, I'm going to say the title of that document really isn't completely accurate. They're not curriculum documents in that guide. It's actually a course catalog. It's a list of the available courses that our students in grades 8 through 12 can take. There's no new courses to the guide. The approval of the catalog allows us to continue offering the same courses that currently exist to our students. Later in tonight's meeting, I'll share our new spending plan for our ESSER 3 grant and ask that the board approve it. The plan will allow us, a quick Reader's Digest version is the plan will allow us to make improvements to our school's HVAC systems, offer summer academic programming, purchase technology, and offset some costs that would have to be included in our general operating budget. And I really look forward to sharing it with everyone. Last evening was our honors banquet, and I was absolutely thrilled to be part of that event. Congratulations, Mr. Kaiser. He had 2 students or 2 children that were honored last night. Congratulations. What a great event. And congratulations to our high school students that were honored for being in the top 10 of their class. Later on tonight, Annie Moran, Kate Crispin, and Dr. Suppan will present an exciting program that we are hoping to bring to our school district next year. And I don't want to overshare, but I'm confident that their presentation tonight will be very well received. Just a quick announcement before I end. It was mentioned that Jessica Cervenak is at States for track and field, and certainly the best of luck to her. She runs tomorrow. She won the district title in both the 100 and 200 meter dash. I mean, there's no other way to say it than she's fast. The high school sent her off to state championships in style today. Absolutely tremendous. I'm happy the music department was honored because it was a drumline send-off throughout the high school that sent her off. It was absolutely great. And just a couple other things. Our girls softball team won again yesterday in the district semifinals. They'll play for a district championship against Valley View next Tuesday, May 31st at Wilkes University. And I'm certainly hoping for a large community turnout. Let's cheer them on to a district championship. And finally, I'm really proud to announce that our graduation ceremony for our high school seniors will take place at our stadium on Friday evening, June 3rd, and there's not a ticket requirement to come, so anybody that wants to come out and support our graduating seniors, I would love to see, because, once a Tiger, always a Tiger. Let's come out and cheer on our graduates. A great event, and thank you very much for the opportunity to address everyone.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Doherty. So we'll be opening up the floor to public comments on agenda items only. Not too much has changed in any of our procedures here. 2 comment periods this evening, 4 minutes per person. The first comment period will be on agenda items only. Please state your name and municipality for the record. The second comment period is the end, and that will be held on any item, agenda or non-agenda. I would refer people to the inside covers, both front and back, of their agenda book tonight. The front is basically a summary of our policy 903 for public participation at meetings, and the back is a more detailed explanation on the rights and responsibilities, especially as it pertains to the Sunshine Act objections. If somebody wants to make an objection, it does say with specificity, which means that we want to know the section and subsection so that we may refer to that when considering a legal objection. The board will decide whether or not to take action on that objection by referring to our solicitor, who we pay to be here tonight, so we will be referring to Mr. Audi, Attorney Audi. And with that, I think, if for whatever reason there's a matter that someone believes would take more than 4 minutes to address, then we would welcome them to send an email in advance of the board meeting or after the board meeting to any person on the board secretary, Mr. Doherty, whomever. The board meeting is just meant as an opportunity for the board to deliberate and discuss and vote on things in front of the public. As part of that, there is public comment period. However, this has never been the intention that a board meeting is the only place that you can communicate with your board members. So there are a multitude of options out there that we'd be happy to help you with. With that, we'll open to any comment on agenda items.
Tim Donnelly from Tunkhannock Township. On page 75 of your booklet there, you have a policy about weapons. Are there any exceptions? Because what you have worded overstates what you mean, because technically you can't have a kid come on campus in their vehicle because everybody carries crowbars in their truck or in their car. And you state tools and any item that can use inflict physical harm. But you don't have any exceptions for the fact that people have tools in their car. Something they included those type of exceptions.
Was there more that you wanted to comment on?
No, that was it.
Okay, I just didn't want to cut into your time. I believe that there is the ability, in Mr. Doherty and Attorney Audi can correct me if I'm wrong on this, there is the ability for the administrators to use common sense in these. So if it is a tool that has a valid use in there and it hasn't been brandished to the building, they didn't bring it in and stick it in their locker, I don't believe we've ever enforced a weapons policy against a student that had tools in their truck that didn't threaten them with it. But if they had a crowbar and they brought it in and they started going after a teacher, we do still need to have the ability to...
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. I agree with that. I'm just saying that it needs to have something in there, saying that it has to have something in there to allow for that common sense of, because you could still have somebody come in with a tool in their backpack because they're going to use it in one of the classrooms.
We will have a more in-depth discussion about this at that item, but I appreciate that insight on that, and Attorney Audi and Mr. Doherty can elaborate during discussion. Thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items?
Hi, Sheila Donnelly, Tunkhannock Township. On page 45, there's your list of activities. There's one that says Gay Straight Alliance. Do we have that club, or is that just in there because it's just sort of generic.
That is a club here.
It is a club here.
It's a voluntary, if people wanted to join it, they could.
Okay. Wasn't aware. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. George Newhouse. So before voting tonight to accept the minutes, I will be asking, I did send an email to give everybody a chance to digest what I was simply asking. The board president in the past has used the Reading Eagle case as for clarity. And I'm asking for specificity in last board meeting, when you were forced to recess to go into an executive session because I was pressing you to table the 62-page document that wasn't given to us 24 hours in advance. I'd really like for some specificity tonight, which would allow it to be something that we fix here in the district instead of something that has to take further action. It's that simple. We made an error. We didn't give specificity to the executive session, so we'd like to have specificity. We decided to discuss whether or not we were going to table it, and we came out and we tabled it after the recess session, executive session. So please consider that so that everything stays here and gets fixed amongst us. I'm also pleased to announce that I did receive a letter, a very important and useful letter. It was finally the rights and responsibilities of how to object. So please read it very clearly, because for the last 2 years, you all have been in violation, and I have been not given the right opportunity. I am allowed to give specificity, not just a number, because not everybody up there knows the number. I'm allowed to. The challenging resident will be allowed to provide a brief description of the violations, such as reading the rule allegedly violated. Every time I try to read it, the board president has my microphone shut off. That's maladministration. You now know this exists. And it's not, she's not the board, we're all the board. If she tries to do that and you represent me, or you're just another board member, and you don't stop the maladministration, you are in violation. You have maladministration. This is in front of us. This is how we do it. There's nothing about being overruled, Mr. Solicitor. You don't overrule. You can deny.
This is not on the agenda.
You can deny. It's my objection. This is my objection. This was to my objection last week.
I understand.
So this is what's to my objection, so I don't want to be interrupted, please. So what we do now is we deny. You have to deny me.
It's his 4 minutes.
You have to deny me my violation. If I suggest a violation, you have to say I deny it, because that's my legal notice to you that I believe you have violated this.
Thank you. We
And then you
understand
deny.
You've explained it enough.
I'm not talking to you anymore. So
Thank you.
Excuse me, that is not the decorum we're going to have.
I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to my board. It's more. You're interrupting me. I'm talking to my
Are
board.
you in your 4 minutes?
I'm in my 4 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm talking to my board, and
You're
you
in
will
your 4
be
minutes. The
you will
time
be
is
in.
going.
Well, quit interrupting me, please.
By all means.
Everybody here will be in maladministration, and that's a very easy claim, because it's right in front of us, and I've been cheated of this for 2 years. Read it specifically and go back and think about how I was treated, because if you do it to me, you're going to do it to other citizens, and we're going to stop that. Thank you.
As a point of clarification, our solicitor wrote those in conjunction with the district. And when we say with specificity, that means the section and the subsection, if anybody were to choose to object tonight to anything. And when we say a brief description, it is objection, there was a violation of the Sunshine Act, item 701.4, and I don't believe you put that thing in the agenda. So that is the clarification on what that means, and that is the procedure we'll be following for that.
And then you have such as reading.
Are you objecting? I'm interrupting.
Objection.
What's your objection?
My objection is that you are not following your procedure. You didn't finish reading. It says that you can read the rule allegedly in violation. So I'm allowed to read the full rule. Thank you.
Just the rule, the section and subsection.
The full rule.
Thank you.
And I'm allowed to give a
We'll
description.
cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay. Item number 7, enrollments, there for everybody's consumption. Item number 8, approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item number 9, business and finance. Can we get a motion to approve items 1 through 6?
Have my objection, please.
State the section and subsection.
This section is, and I just got finished asking a simple request from my board. Subsection is 709 of the Sunshine Law.
Subsection?
And I'm going to give my brief description, please. The brief description is simply this: Eagle versus Reading for specificity. It wasn't met. You all know what you went into
Okay,
executive.
we hear you. We
You all
agreed that.
know what
You
you.
hear that you have a
You all know what you went into executive session for?
President,
So,
Madam
everything-
President, if I
Yeah,
may, this is
absolutely.
the second time he's raised this very specific objection.
Yes,
So-
and we
so
clarified it in
therefore-
email.
Therefore, we will just move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are on to item number 9, business and finance. Do we have a motion to approve items 1 through 6?
Motion to approve.
Farr and Widener. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
No.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item number 10, the superintendent's report. Mr. Superintendent.
Can I please have a motion for items 1 and 2?
We're looking for a motion for items 1 and 2.
Can we separate those?
Sure, absolutely. We'll take them one at a time. Number 1, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving the personnel report as presented.
Motion approved to number 1, Mr. Superintendent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Abstain?
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item number 2, recommend a resolution be adopted approving conference attendance as listed. And it's listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Committee reports. Unfortunately, Lori was unable to be here tonight, but she has been reporting some great things coming from the IU lately, so I suspect we'll be hearing about that in one of the next meetings. She does a great job of representing our board at the IU every month, and there are some programs for diabetics that are going to be coming out of that, and if anybody's interested, there are going to be many positions available with the IU. And if you go to the IU18 website, under employment opportunities, you'll be able to see a list of all kinds of anticipated positions. So that benefits us as well, because sometimes we have to use their services for different things. Any other
One
committees?
thing, Holly, real quick, under the personnel, I should have mentioned this when we were there, but I wanted to thank Mr. Barkley for his contributions.
Oh, yes.
So I was looking at something, trying to think through at the same time. So I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Barkley at P&G for many years before he worked here in district. And so I know he was used at various different places and
He was.
a wealth of experience and outside knowledge to the district. So I wanted to thank him for that, and he'll be missed throughout the district.
He came to us as his second career just because he likes to spend the time and work with the kids and be a teacher. And I think, didn't he try to retire from us once before?
He did. He left for a while.
And we found another job for him here that he came back for. So, fingers crossed, we find something else that is just, it piques his interest too much and he can't stand but to come back. And the kids all love him, and he was great. Sorry, Phil, that I interrupted you.
He does a great job when he's here, and everybody does like him in the classroom.
Yeah.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barkley. Any other committee reports or things? We're still actively in teacher negotiations. Nobody's had to have been forcibly removed from a room yet, so I'd say it's going pretty well. How about you, Mr. Kaiser? Would you agree? Okay. All right, unfinished business. Update on right-to-know requests.
Thank you. We've had 5 additional right-to-know requests have been received since the last board meeting. In total, since last July 1st, so this fiscal year, we've received 95 right-to-know requests. All have been fulfilled, partially denied, or denied. Currently, there are no outstanding appeals with the Office of Open Records, and to date on attorney's fees to analyze the right-to-know requests, we've spent $62,620.97.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, discussion, possible motion to approve a fuel cap for transportation contractors.
Yes, again, thank you for the opportunity to address this with the board. This has been on our last few agendas, and I just wanted to provide information. Again, in 2008, when the last time there was a gas cap, it was $3.50 for gas and $4 for diesel. Right now, we're paying, and please remember, we don't pay the tax on that, and right now we're paying $3.57 a gallon, and for diesel we're paying $5.07 a gallon. So it's the diesel that's significantly higher. Had we had a gas cap this year, at the same rate that it was in 2008, we would have paid our contractors a total of $10,746.86. Just for some comparison, last May of 21, we spent $18,505 on gas. This May, $35,004 in gas for our contractors. So, I mean, if the board is wants to give me any direction, I will take that, or we can continue to monitor it, and I could bring it back again next meeting.
I'm in favor of doing something with this item. So, I mean, the margins are tight for these folks driving buses, and I mean, it's an unforeseen change from where we were not too long ago. So the cost isn't huge, and I think we just need to be in collaboration with these folks to make sure we keep our drivers and keep our busing folks here. So I don't have the answer for it, but I just don't think we can continue to turn our back and pretend that it's not happening.
Yeah, and this ties very directly, and I don't want to jump items, but it ties also right into the next agenda item, which is about contractor on virtual days. Again, just providing, in comparison to surrounding districts, the only district around us that has any type of fuel cap is Wyoming area. Montrose does not, Susquehanna, not, Elk Lake, no. I mean, they're all looking at bringing it back, but currently the only one around us that has is Wyoming area.
So are we talking about something, because we have 4 student days left?
It's probably more of a discussion in the fall going into to next year, and then we focus on this next item maybe, I don't know.
Like, our contractors are having a lot of concerns, and understandably so. But
yes,
really,
I received a very well-written email. It was from Ben Garrison, and he has only ever reached out in very professional ways, and only when it's something that really is a good purpose or reason to reach out. So I agree with you, John, that we need to do something. I think maybe for this year, we make it more whole by addressing it in the next item, and then have something in place for the coming year. I don't know what people's thoughts are.
Yeah, because we have time. Like you said, there's only a few more days left.
Yeah, some of the questions we've been getting now are also relating to, I mean, we run an extensive summer program.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, true.
And some of our contractors, and speaking with our, transportation director, Karen Delancey, some of the contractors have spoken to her with some reservations about even running the buses in the summer, because it might be, at some point, not worth it for them to operate them in the summer, because that's outside the scope of their contract with us.
What was the cap at Wyoming area? Do you know?
I don't. I can't. We could find that out, but I'm sorry, I don't know that.
When does the summer program start? July 10th.
So we do have one.
So we'll have
more
a June,
day.
but we'll have a June meeting.
Yes.
So let's be prepared to put a dollar amount on that effective for the summer. Is everybody okay with that?
And we
for-
voted.
For bus
Yep.
contractors. And I think that we'll throw some math around. I think this might be Mr. Burke's item to see like what, when you're looking at inflation rates and stuff like that, like what is a reasonable number to put on that? If it was $4 a gallon in 2008, what should we be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is it's probably no more. Let's figure that out later. Yeah, because with inflation, it's probably okay still. Nobody's going to want to hear that, because if you use the net numbers in 07, 08 and add inflation to it, it's not any higher with what Paul just said. But I think it's worth us looking at what the right thing to do is, because we want to keep our bus contractors engaged and working here.
Yeah, for instance, like last May, diesel was $2.36 a gallon that we were paying, and now it's $5.07.
Yeah, it doubled. Yep. Yeah, double the price.
And that's what we're paying.
Yes.
Okay. So we will, I mean, we can't, who knows why everybody will vote, but the expectation will be for any of our contractors that are watching this, that we will take an action on this and hopefully have 5 votes to pass something in June.
Okay, so I'll bring this again. I'll put
And that's
this
just item 2? Yeah.
Yes, so item 2 I will put on the agenda
Yeah.
again for June.
Yep, and somebody somewhere will come up with what that number looks like, because I'm certainly not an expert on that, so.
Yeah, what I'd like to know is how much the cost fuel was when we had the last price cap on compared to where we capped it.
Oh, how high did it raise?
How high did it go above what our cap was? during
Okay,
that?
I could try to find that out.
That was in,
2008.
that was, well, the one I got here says May 3rd, 2011, and then the cap expired on August 15th of 2011. It was set at 403.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'll find that out.
Okay.
That was in an email that we got from PJ at the time. He sent it out, I think, in 2015.
Do we need a motion to table that?
Yes.
Even, okay.
Is that- I don't-
Do we have a motion to table?
Motion to table.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, it says possible motion.
Okay, all right.
So-
Well, either way, we just voted to table it too,
Table.
so, you know. We got you. Item number 3, discussion of possible motion to approve payments to transportation contractors for a total of 180 school days.
So how many are we going to pay now if we didn't take action?
170.
So we're 10 short.
10 short. Now, we reached out. Now, our conversation at the last meeting involved state reimbursement.
Yep.
And if we paid them, then we would be reimbursed. I got information back from the state that I'm genuinely surprised by. We report actual data to include the days the vehicles ran. If the school vehicles did not run, it does not get reported. So even if we pay our contractors for the 10 days or a percentage of what they would have made over the 10 days,
We get no reimbursement.
we'll get 0 reimbursement for that.
That's correct.
I mean, I got that, I got an email from the state yesterday confirming that.
Yep. And then we had this discussion last time. I believe neighboring districts were kind of all over the map. Some were paying all, some were paying none, and some were paying a percentage.
Yes, I could certainly share that again. Montrose reimburses the contractors at 23% of actual cost. Susquehanna currently is 100%. Elk Lake always pays for the 180 days. Abington Heights pays nothing. Wyoming area pays. Lackawanna Trail will pay up to 3 virtual days, and Crestwood does nothing. So they're kind of all over the place. I do have the figures calculated. Lost contractor pay for the virtual days was for in-district, because we also transport out-of-district for specialized programs. For in-district was $115,216.52
For the 10 days?
for the 10 days. Out-of-district,
No reimbursement for.
out-of-district was $31,751.67 for a total of $146,968.19. I think that obviously that's hurting our contractors. Some have continued to, some of our contractors paid their employees for the 10 days, even though the buses didn't run, others did not. So I think that, you know, the board may, a couple things, we could do nothing, since we're not getting reimbursed, we can do it all, we can say it's for in-district, you know, we could revisit it in June, but I think either way, we need to have a plan moving forward into next school year, because FID days are here for the foreseeable future.
I believe a couple years ago when the COVID first started, Shane Powers looked into what institutes were doing then, because we shut down completely. And I think it came back with a percentage of what actual costs were versus variable costs of actually running.
Right,
And
John.
I think it was,
Yeah, John, correct me if I'm wrong.
perhaps somewhere in the 90% range.
But I think
that they were paying.
I think the state provided some reimbursement at that point.
Yeah, I think they did too. Is there any way that, like, at least for the COVID days that we went virtual, that we could use the any ESSER money for that? Like, if we were going to reimburse?
And prior to that, they allowed for total reimbursement.
Yeah.
So I guess that'd be a follow-up, is there any, the COVID days, can we reimburse at least those out of any other funds?
I mean, we may be able to take it out of our ESSER funding. I'd have to clarify that with the state. Or, I mean, technically, we could offset by moving other things into COVID that we know would qualify and free up money in the GOP to do that.
Because here's my concern, is that the contracts that we enter into in good faith with our busing providers, like, they budget off of that for the year.
Yes.
And now, like, they're, you know, I don't have his email right in front of me, but like, for a bus, it was a substantial amount of money, or, you know, just a couple buses. And, like, yeah, they didn't run the bus, they didn't spend the gas, and you can say that there was a moderate amount of, like, the wear and tear of not driving those 10 days, that you, sure, if you want to count it as something, but I do think that, and I could be wrong, but I feel like there hasn't been a lot of opportunities or funding that was just thrown out there to help someone in, like, that situation. And most of our bus systems, our bus companies that we work with, they're small mom and pop. They have a couple buses, and that hurts them. And we aren't exactly swimming in bus drivers and bus contractors. So
You're correct.
I feel a strong urge to do something here, and if we can get some of it covered by ESSER funding, even better. But I don't know how that.
I mean, I could examine that. I mean, that's something we could absolutely follow up on. But the state did provide reimbursement in 2021 for this, and I was kind of surprised with the answer.
Yeah. I mean, so I want to do something. I mean, that was my previous statement too. We just need to be, you know, $146,000. If we reimburse all of it, then we are on the hook for raising taxes by about $1 million. So, you know, if we start talking about what these numbers look like, we got to keep those things in mind. It's a big hit to our busing contractors, and if we pay all of it, it's a big hit to the taxpayers. So we need to think about this and get it resolved. I don't know what the answer is. I'm in Holly's camp. I feel like we need to do something, because we committed these contracts, and there's a piece of fixed cost that's not being covered that I feel like we should be doing, but I don't know what that answer is today. I don't know whether that's 30%, 60%, 50%, like, I just don't know.
Well, can we get the data? I mean, can we ask each contractor, like, which ones of them did pay their drivers versus not? Because I think that's different.
I think that was their choice. Like, I feel like that's something we have to back out of this. Like, where are you going? What are you thinking?
Reimbursing somebody who didn't pay their drivers is reimbursing what specifically? The cost of the insurance while the bus sat? I don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without that data, I don't know.
Well, it's budgeted income.
Typically, when districts did do this in 2021, they were paying somewhere between 80 and 90% of the cost to the transportation contractors.
What did you just say, Paul? I'm sorry.
Typically, like in 2021, when you know, some districts were shut down for extensive periods of time, or even at the end of 1920, they were typically, when they weren't running, they were typically paying their contractors between 80 and 90%.
Right, and I think the COVID stuff is different. Like, I don't think, I mean, we're talking about now about virtual snow days, right? So
Yes.
ongoing, it's going to snow in northeastern Pennsylvania. I mean, you have to, now what we didn't have was virtual, I get it. So maybe the contractor has to think about their cost structure, or they're billed to us differently or something, I don't know.
It's that same argument about when they, when we lose one student from the school and they take $16,000 from the school for each student. It wasn't costing us $16,000 for that specific student. Our costs didn't go down that much by not having that one student in the classroom. The busing contractor's costs didn't go down that much by having one less day, or even really 10 less days. I mean, really, it's just the cost of the gas.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think like the
And
best
the bus
solution
driver.
would be if there could be, for this year, something we could do out of ESSER to
Right.
cover, I don't know, that will work, but we could look into it, and then we do need to come up with a plan, because like Paul said, we have 3 or 5 days that we can use every year for virtual snow days. So we have to have a plan for that, whatever that's gonna look like.
That we get no reimbursement for.
Right.
Right. But is it 3 or 5? Now I can't remember.
It's 5.
Oh, it's 5.
You could
so-
have up to 5 FID days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lackawanna, and I certainly don't want to, tell the board what to do. I mean, Lackawanna Trail they'll pay up to 3 FID days. That's what's in their transportation contract. That might be a compromise for that.
Who's on the transportation committee? But I always feel like we ought to have a sub-meeting to figure out like this variable cost item, because I don't think we have the data. Like, I don't want to come back here a month from now and we still don't, we need some data.
Bill is the transportation committee, so maybe he could work with the.
Yeah. I don't know whether you'd be willing to have a meeting and maybe just talk to the bus drivers, understand those concerns a little, Bill, and then we look at the cost.
I'll have to go in and sit down with Paul and Karen and stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Karen is taking a lot of meetings and phone calls with the contractors. I mean, I certainly understand their concern. Early, it was, the gas cap, and it's quickly becoming, the impact that the virtual days had.
Yep.
I mean, in hindsight, we probably should have had this figured out in August.
Yep.
For this school year. So I do think it's really important to get this taken care of in some way, shape, or form, because they couldn't even budget differently because we hadn't said we weren't, and in the past we did. So we have to figure something.
Yeah, so I personally am committed to try to get this situation better than it is today.
Yes, okay. So Bill, we'll figure out who the other 2 committee members are with you, unless you know right off the top of your head, and we'll get that set up.
There's so many angles of this to look at to try to come somewhat close. It's
Right, and I think there might even be ideas that, I don't think we have busing contractors, at least a large amount of them here tonight, to participate in that conversation, and maybe it's a conversation to have with them in the room, because they might have ideas on how that can be made whole or made better, even if not whole. So whenever that transportation committee meeting is scheduled, let's make sure we invite, let them know.
Yep. That's Phil and Laura, the other 2 lucky members.
Who?
Phil and Laura.
Oh, Phil, Laura, and Bill. All right, so you guys let us know when you want to set that up, preferably before the next board meeting, so that we have something that we can hopefully vote on.
after graduation,
You'll have a recommendation?
sometime
Okay.
after graduation.
After graduation. I thought you said you'd have a recommendation. I'm like, well, let's go then, today. All right. So we don't need to vote to table that, but we're saying we'll table it and come back to it, right? Not table it, but we're just not going to take an action on it. All right, item number 4, recommend that a motion be adopted approving a revised 22-23 school calendar. Small revision.
Small revisions. We made some modifications that we think may be more beneficial. For instance, we moved one of the professional development half-days in September from September 21st to September 15th to piggyback off a teacher in-service day. I think it'd be easier to plan for parents than to have time off a few weeks in a row. The other item was a half-day for students on Wednesday, November 23rd, which is the day before Thanksgiving. Also is a half-day for students on February 23rd. It was originally a full day off to ensure that we were compliant with the sports staff contract, but it turns out that we could have a half day on that day, and it worked just fine. So that'll still count as a school day. The third quarter will end on Monday, March 27th instead of Tuesday, March 28th. Added a full day off on Friday, May 26th, which is the Friday before Memorial Day, and that came to me after this last snowstorm that we just had after spring break, where I was, we ended up using a virtual day, but it would be nice to have a day in our pocket. So if we had to use that as a snow day, we'll use it as a snow day. And graduation will still be on Friday, June 2nd. That's the last day of school. That's no change. And the first day of school for staff, again, this is no change. It would be Monday, August 22nd, and the first day of school for students would be Wednesday, August 24th, and again, there's no change. So what I'm proposing is just some very minor revisions to it that do not affect the start of the school year nor the conclusion.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Some of
Second.
We have a Phil and Paula. Any discussion?
Thank you for, I think the calendar is better than the last revision. The first one was pretty good too. So I didn't think about that idea around that snow day. So this is a very minor one, that Friday before Memorial Day. I almost wondered it'd be better just to end the school year on that Thursday instead of the second. So this is just something we can think about.
I mean, that's something we could
And the
even
reason why is I don't think much is going to happen on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week after Memorial Day. So,
But we could even take a look at that.
Because I agree with what you said. So if we ended it on that Thursday, and then there was a snow day, we just extend to Friday or something like that. Because I think, I mean, we all, the grades are due and wrapping up anyway, and so kids will be off that Friday, and then they're going to just, absenteeism will be high and all those sorts of things those last couple of days. So I don't feel strongly about it, so if there was a different opinion, that was the only other thing I saw.
Either way, I'd be perfectly fine with that, but we could also look at making that revision in April or early May.
I think the calendar's good. That was the only thing that stuck out.
But I'd be happy to take that modification if the board would like that.
Well, we can vote on what was just said, or we can withdraw the motion, make another motion with that change. I mean, if that was what the rest of the board wanted to do too, I don't generally have a preference.
I don't feel strongly about it, so.
You like the change?
Well, that makes logical sense because of you would have less risk of paying a lot of subs for that Friday, or for that, that way.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So we can,
I would rather motion then.
yeah.
Okay, Phil withdraws the motion. Do we have a motion with the revision to remove the snow day on the 26th and change the last day of school to June 1st?
So moved.
Second.
All right, cool.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
I appreciate the collaboration on this. I think the calendar every year has gotten better. I know there's input from a bunch of different sources, so it seems like a minor thing, but when we got tons of good feedback last year about some of those choices that were made on the calendar, and I think this one is just as good, if not better, so thank you for that. I know it seems probably small, but I get a lot of feedback on it.
Yeah, no, the calendar that was here, I'm not going to take any credit for because it was a strong calendar that I was able to walk in on, and we just kind of stole every idea that was there, and I was looking for a solution for that late snow day, but this still provides that if we had to move a day, we just bump it.
All right, if there's no other discussion, can we get a roll call?
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. I think this would also be a good opportunity, just because I know that there has been some confusion in the community that the last day of school is not a half day, correct?
It's not on our calendar.
It is not a half day on our calendar. I think it's been hit and miss. Some years yes, some years no. This year it is not listed as a half day. By all means, if you have something going on with your family and you want to take your kid out early that day, I don't see anybody having a problem with that, but the day is a full scheduled day, and that is what it's been on our calendar since it was approved. So that is not a change, it's just a reminder.
I am a rule follower. I looked at that calendar. It doesn't, I will do what's on that calendar.
Yeah, so just wanted to mention that. Item number 5, discussion, possible motion to approve the 22-23 high school curriculum guide. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item number 6, recommend that a motion be adopted approving the second reading of the following board policies. Board policy 227, 227.1 will be retired with the approval of 227. So this was the one that we were looking for some more clarification on 218.1, some discussion. So do we have a motion to approve and a second, and then we can have some discussion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. So Mr. Doherty or Mr. Audi, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, I could discuss the weapon issue. The school code actually defines what a weapon is, and the reason that you have to list certain items that can be used as a weapon. For example, it depends on how you're using something, which is what the definition is. That's why it's so unusual. Students have baseball bats because they play baseball in school. But if they pick up a baseball bat and they're looking to strike somebody with it, it's a weapon. And that's why they have a broad definition. It's not so much the particular item, but how the item is being used, except for certain items. Like a knife is a knife is a knife, and will always be a weapon. So that's what that is, and that is from the school code.
Yeah. And I mean, students will still use a knife in culinary class, but they aren't going to be cited for it unless they threaten to cut their teacher's throat or something crazy like that. So,
Or students have, been expelled for coming to school with knives in their backpack, even though they don't particularly plan on using it as a weapon, because it makes the accessibility of a weapon and allows for things to happen that might not have otherwise have happened.
right, even if the kid, it was an accident, like I happen to know somebody that was a thing, they used their backpack for like a scout camp or something, then they used their backpack for school, and they had a knife in their backpack. So, but even those things, they're taken care of and they're handled, but the circumstances play a part in what the actual consequences are,
That's
right?
correct, yes.
That's correct. There's discretion.
Discretion, okay. Any other discussion of those 4 items? Well, 4 plus the abandonment or retirement of the other policy.
Well, part of that too, on page 76, right above transfer of students, it talks about possession or discharge of a firearm on or within 1,000 feet of school grounds is prohibited. It says possession. What do you do about the houses across the street from our administration building? Are they grandfathered?
There's, no, they are not on the school property.
Oh, but it says within 1,000 feet.
Oh, well, if they're in 1,000 feet, then yes, that.
Because, memory serves me,
Yeah.
didn't we have a lockdown here a little while ago because there was somebody...
A gentleman who had gone turkey
Some person with a
hunting.
gun down in the lower part of town, and it locked down for several hours? But then, that's discretion. If I lived across the street before that building was built, and I'm a hunter, and I don't have a garage to hide in to take my gun to go hunting, somebody sees it, I'm going by what I see there.
We can't change the school code in a policy
And
of
that actually
Titanic.
is federal law, too.
And yeah, that is federal, the safe schools. That actually came up as an issue when they talked about having that charter school at the Brady Cavany building, strip mall, because they sell guns at Brady Cavany, and they were going to put the charter school in the spot like next door to the Brady Cavany store. So. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Under new business, discussion possible motion to approve a therapy dog program. Annie Moran, Kate Crispin, and Dr. Charles Stefan will give a brief presentation. Without a puppy though, so.
No, not yet.
I mean, you're already down a couple points because, you know.
June 4th.
That's exciting.
So if we have a therapy dog in school, it will be very important for everybody to know the difference between a therapy dog and a service dog. The therapy dog that would be coming to us would be certified through multiple tests and classes to provide therapy to our students. A service dog does not go through that same type of training and certification. It's very outlined in the presentation that's printed out for you. I'm not going to read it word for word to save you all some time. The way we will use the therapy dog would be one-on-one, small groups, large groups. It would be with a certified handler, so not anyone can have the dog with them. It has to be a certified handler. The dog would always be on a leash at all times. Students and families would have the opportunity to opt out of the therapy dog program if they didn't feel comfortable being around the dog or if there were allergies. The dog that has been selected, and I will let Kate talk a little bit more about the breeder, is hypoallergenic and has been tested to be so. And so we would put that out for the families. They would have a full description of the dog and how she would fit into them. It would be just this, almost like a mascot. And although Kate is stationed at the intermediate center, the dog will be at all three of the schools, so it becomes more of like this presence on campus, and she is going to bring Sunny to the various sporting events and concerts. The dog can go to literally everything if we were to approve that. Kate services students M through Z, is that right, Kate? M through Z, so those students that she sees would have the opportunity to meet with her in a separate office if they chose to opt out. So they wouldn't lose out on any of their guidance counselor services with Kate due to her having the dog. It would be in a completely separate room. Her particular office already has an air purifier in it. It would be vacuumed daily, and she would have lint rollers and wipes for the kids as needed to prevent, even though it is hyperallergenic, but just taking that extra step to ensure everybody is comfortable. And then from an administrative standpoint, we would ensure that the dog has updated vet records. We would have all those certifications on file, the shots. And so we would keep that just like we do for any of our faculty and staff here in Tunkhannock. We would do the same thing for the dogs. So they would have their own little file right there in the office too. So I'm gonna let Kate talk a little bit about the breeder, because this particular breeder is why we decided to go with this dog.
Hello, how are you?
Very well.
So Grace is the breeder. She's from New Jersey, and the dog is right now in New Jersey, getting trained by Kathy Santos. She breeds dogs for service to veterans, to therapy dogs, and service animals. So out of each litter, 2 of those dogs go to service, whether that be, therapy or service. She has scientific research with this dog about temperament and the scales of the temperament scales. So those dogs the dog that is picked it has all of the scales that it is a good dog that would do well with the training if I become the handler and I do the training. So it's really about 50% the dog and then 50% me. So I have to learn to train the dog. I have a trainer lined up. I have a lot of mentors that I'm working with right now. Pleasure of Your Company Therapy Dog is, I'm talking with them back and forth. I'm going to go with that program because it is local, and because the woman does also train the dog for READ, which is Reading Education Assistant Dog. So it's a different certification, and I'm interested in that one as well. So I want to do both with the training. Back to the breeder though. She does early scent induction and early neurological evaluations on the puppies. So from 0 to 8 weeks, she's very mindful of what she's feeding the dog, and what, feeding all of her dogs and the puppies, even the nursing dogs. And she is doing temperament scales, and she does DNA swabs. This is important because when picking a family dog, and also a dog that is going to be active in the community and in therapy, I know that out of a 9-point scale, the dog's at 2, which means very, very low at shedding, which makes the dog allergy friendly for students that have allergies, asthma, and restricted airways. So that's very important to me and I think to the community. So I'm hopeful that this is a program that we can have in our school and in our community, and I think the children will really benefit from it. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yeah.
No, but I say children and staff. Because I'm pretty sure our staff would be, for the most part, just as excited as the children to see this dog come in.
The breeder Grace continues to collect data on her dogs that she breeds. So once, the dog has already started training, and she was graceful enough to donate the dog to Kate. So there's no cost to the district at all with any of this. Kate is providing the vest and her own certification training, plus Sunny's coming with a lot already because this person believes so much in a therapy dog program. So she will be conducting research with Kate. It won't have anything to do with our students or anything, just between her and Kate on if the dog's temperament is staying the same. And she is going to be supporting Kate in that aspect. So the plan or future would be that she may possibly donate another dog or 2 to us if we had other staff that would be willing to take on the responsibility. If you want to see her, she is on page 3. She's super cute. And I'm just going to let Dr. Suppan talk a little bit about his research that he's done. I will say this started as like a small little conversation, like, hey, we should have a therapy dog, and I really support that. And then I called Kate, and she's like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. And then we found out that he did a whole dissertation on it. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about that.
I'll be super quick. So Holly hit a key point. When they were up here, we heard students, students, students. So my research filled in a gap, and the gap was the perception the teacher has of the therapy dog embedded into the classroom. Teachers are a key stakeholder in the success of our children. So I targeted through a sequential mixed method study a Pennsylvania school, an elementary school that had therapy dogs servicing that school. So the pervasive sampling that took place, I targeted a group of teachers, 45 to be exact, that experienced the phenomenon of study, which was experienced with a therapy dog on a daily basis. The quantitative data of my study was done through a Likert scale, a 4-point Likert scale. Again, 1 being negative, 4 being positive. It was very simple, 26 questions. I also conducted interviews with 3 of them. I could say all the quantitative and qualitative data through the sequential mixed method study was positive. The data clusters with the standard deviation and variance within the study were all low, which means the data was very tight to the mean, and all the mean averages for the questions were all positive. They talked a little bit about kids can opt out. That got brought up through some of the interviews through my research, and every single kid, they said, that came in fearful of the dog in kindergarten, by 1st, 2nd grade, were interacting with the dog. So you will have some young kids, that was one of the maybe negative comments, but it trended positive because the final result was they enjoyed being by the dog. The dogs are embedded in a lot of things in regard to Chapter 14 special education, whether it's positive behavior support plans, whether it's working with kids with reading deficiencies or deficits, and it's because they feel comfortable reading to the dog because the dog doesn't judge. So then they see growth in reading in those numbers. A lot of times, all 3 interviews, they mentioned that some of the most dysregulated students with emotions or emotional disturbance are the ones that respond the best to the dog. And when they're embedded into the positive behavior support plans, they see positive trending results and growth in a positive trajectory. But again, all the data, legitimately, all the data from the 45 subjects that I had participate in my study were positive. And again, it's just, if you look at prior research in regard to military or hospitals or nursing homes, they've been utilizing dogs for a long time, and it's positive. Schools have been utilizing Not to the extent I think we could, but again, I filled in like I said, my research was to fill in the perception of the teachers, and I hope people can expand on my research because mine was a small population size, but again, all the data, quantitative and qualitative, was all positive. So I think we have a real unique opportunity here. I think it's also an opportunity to engage stakeholders in the community because we have a handler that can also go out to the community for grief or just for sporting events or for whatever it may be and engage that community-school relationship. And we can really expand on this because I know this lady is willing to donate more dogs down the way if we have more people willing to be handlers. So again, I just think it creates a happy atmosphere, and happy kids most likely have happy results in their education in all facets, whether it's, you know, cognitively, socially, emotionally, whatever it may be. So I'm more than happy. If anybody wants to sit down on a Saturday night and read a 250-page dissertation, let me know. I'll share it with you. But I can certainly share the data with you guys if you want to look at it. Again, it was a sample size of 45, but it was positively trending. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to note, if this is a program that we decide to adopt, you'll notice that the next item on the agenda has a therapy dog policy. There are two policies. One is a service dog, one is a service animal, one is a therapy dog. We are focusing on the therapy dog so that we could, if we're going to approve the program.
Thank you. I just want to comment on the lightning speed of this admin team and this crew down here, because I think there was a puppy in the high school in March, and there started being joking kind of comments about, like, we need dogs in school, like the teachers, the staff, the way that they responded to this puppy. And then I think there was a more serious conversation at a volleyball game, and Mrs. Moran was there, where she got hit in the face by the volleyball. But Mr. Doherty said, see what we can do. And like, we're a couple weeks later and we have a puppy. It has a name. She has a name, Sunny. And I am just so blown away by the way that everything came together, and the fact that we have a Dr. Supan here who has a research study on this exact thing. It was almost like it was meant to be. So I guess that kind of gives away what my thoughts are on this, and I really hope that we approve this tonight. And if we do, I really hope that we're approving other dogs in not too distant future. So I just want to thank you all for taking this and make it a reality.
Yep. Thanks for bringing it forward. I'm 100% in favor of it, so.
What's that?
Yeah, this is great.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we've got about 4 motions to approve. Count one of those as a second. Any other discussion? Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Which brings us to item number 2 under new business, the first reading of board policies. So we made edits to that electronic devices policy from the last meeting, and we are adding the therapy animals in schools policy. Do we have a motion and a second?
We don't need one.
Oh, that's right, first reading, sorry. All right, item number 3, the TASD visa account is there for your information, as well as item number 4, the substitute teacher fill rate also. Item number 5, recommend that a resolution be adopted accepting the donation by the primary center PTO of a sign for in front of the primary center and new playground equipment and installation.
We have some guests.
Oh, well, hello there.
Hi, my name is Katie Henfling. This is Kylie Fisher. We're here representing the Primary Center Parent-Teacher Organization. Not sure if you know, but the Primary Center has a very active and successful PTO. We represent and help these students and teachers with many different programs throughout the school year. So one of the most exciting things that we are hoping to do this year is to provide a new sign to replace the current Clifford Roslin Elementary School sign that is there with one that represents Tunkhannock Primary Center. So the sign information, I believe, is on page 98 and 99 of your supplement, and it does match from Stewart Signs, the one that was just placed out front on Tioga Street. And throughout COVID, of course, COVID handed us a lot of lemons, so as a PTO, we want to make lemonade out of that. Our students were unable to go on field trips during 2020 and 2021, so we do have an excess in our budget by not sending our students on field trips. So we're making the decision to add a piece of playground equipment to the right side of, so that would be in front of the lacrosse field. That playground equipment does have 3 different slides and seems pretty fun, so we're hoping to go ahead and add that. So anytime the PTO donates the funds and gets everything together to add this type of equipment, that's with the understanding that the school assumes responsibility, liability, and maintenance of that equipment moving forward.
Is this in addition, or is this replacing a piece that's already
This
there?
is in addition to what's already there.
Great.
Any questions for us on that?
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, it's a significant donation, and we certainly are very, very appreciative of the donation and certainly coming to talk about it tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Goble. A second?
Second.
Paula? Any discussion?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
And I think in increasing the number of children at the school and then increasing the amount of equipment available is important to make sure all kids have fun when they're on recess, and I think
Absolutely.
that's important, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, well then, if there's no other public any other board comments or discussion, then we'll take a roll call, please.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 6, discussion motion to approve a school board treasurer to serve for a 1-year term beginning the first day of July 2022.
Nominate John Burke.
Use changing.
Got about 3 nominations
Thanks,
for John Burke. Any other discussion from anybody but Mr. Burke? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 7, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving an out-of-state field trip for 5 students and 2 chaperones to Atlanta, Georgia for the Skills USA National Leadership Conference. They're going to probably come back as champions. Do we have a motion to approve?
Yes, motion.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes, best of luck to them. I'm sure they'll represent us well. Item 8, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving the gifted assurance plan.
Motion approved.
Do you have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 9, recommend that a resolution be adopted to approve the renewal of the memorandum of understanding between the Tunkhannock Area School District and Hands of Wyoming County for the lease of the classroom space at the Mahoopany School Building for PA pre-K counts.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Do we have any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 10, recommend that a resolution be adopted to approve the renewal of the collaboration agreement between Tunkhannock Area School District and Hands of Wyoming County for an early truancy intervention program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Recommend that a resolution be adopted approving bus and band contracts as presented.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Recommend that a resolution be adopted approving a student settlement agreement for student 15697109553. Do we
So
have a
moved.
motion? Mr. Farr? Second?
Second.
Mr. Franco? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goble?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item number 13, discussion on making an agreement with local colleges to provide daily substitutes.
This is a great discussion. I mean, we spend a lot of time brainstorming ways to address substitute shortages. I'm going to ask Annie Moran to come back up to the mic, please, because she was integral. What we decided is, the state now allows people to be substitutes if they have 60 college credits. So we thought, what a better experience than to reach out to local colleges and see if they'd have kids in the education field that are willing to come in and be substitutes, and they would work through Kelly, and they would be, we would pay them as a substitute rate, but then we would also get to sign off that they were doing like hours in the building, which they are required to do. So it's kind of beneficial that they can make a couple dollars doing it. So Annie had meetings at both Misericordia and with Keystone College, and if you could just share a little of the feedback that you got from both colleges.
They're in the same situation where they don't have enough placements for their students, and we need their students here. So we're in the process of identifying which students need to be in which placement. So is it a special education certification that they're going for? Is it pre-K to 12? Is it 8 to 12? And then we will place them in that specific subject area that they need, and they will have observation hours on, if they don't have class on Tuesday, then they would come every Tuesday to that subject area and observe their teacher and obtain their observation hours. If on that particular day we need a substitute, when they got there, they would substitute then instead. One of the issues that we run into is it takes a while for them to go through Kelly Services training and get all of their paperwork in. So I trained the guest teachers when I worked at the intermediate unit, and our primary center principal, Sean Castellani, trained his teachers in his previous district. So we are going to collaborate together, develop our own training for Tunkhannock so that it's relevant to what we do here. And they will all come on the same day with their updated clearances already done. They'll get the training. We will send that to Kelly Services. They'll do the 2 other online trainings for their clearances that they need, and then we will send all of that to Kelly Services, and they'll all walk out of here ready to go. So we'll have a large majority of kids, and no, they're not all going to be able to substitute every day, but it'll give us a much larger pool that we can pull from every day.
And they're juniors and seniors, or what?
They have to have 60 credits. So,
Well, 60 or
yes.
16?
60.
Yeah, so essentially they're juniors,
I
yeah.
thought you said 16, I was like,
No.
Okay. 16, like, I was like,
Sorry, I didn't enunciate well.
No,
It's 60.
No, the microphone down there is great, yours is terrible.
Terrible. It's me, it's not the mic.
We have a handful of them that will be student teaching, so we've utilized them in the past. That's nothing new. I think the thing that will streamline it is just that Sean and I will train them all at once. So it's not like piecemeal, once this person's done, once that person's done, they'll all be done at the same time. And if you want to observe in our district or student teach in our district, you have to go through this process first, so that we're not waiting on you to finish everything or waiting on Kelly. We just send them an email. All of these kids went through the training, they all have everything to go, here's everything, and then
That's good, because one of the big complaints that we had when we first contracted with Kelly was how cumbersome the onboarding process was. So if we're trying to bring on a large amount of people, I mean, it's almost like, could we open that to anybody who wanted to potentially be a new sub at Tunkhannock at that time? Like, hey, if you're interested, we're having a class, you're going to speed yourself through this process.
Yeah. I don't see why not. It'll be, we will have them go into Kelly. They'll register themselves. There's 2 online clearance trainings that they would do online, and then Sean and I would do a half day, which would be equivalent to what they would have done through all the modules anyway. Plus then it's, like I said, it's more geared towards Tunkhannock. These are our procedures, and this is how we do things in each of our buildings. So we absolutely could do that. And honestly, if we had people from the community that wanted to do it, I'd rather do it with them in August, because I have to wait for the college students to come back.
Right.
So if I have community members that want to do it, I'll send a date in August, and we'll get them ready to go for first day of school.
Yes, we could get that information out via one call. I mean, if people are interested in doing that via an all call.
Yeah, because I mean, it's the sad state of education that they keep lowering the standards for a substitute, right?
Well, I mean,
because we need
Right, our Kelly fill rate in April was 56%, and our fill rate in May so far is 46%. So, I mean, we need subs. So we're just, this idea was kind of brainstormed, and, we're trying to think, we want to get off the porch with some creative ideas, and this is a real good one. I don't know if you could tell, but Annie's becoming like the utility player. Like, she's picking up a lot of tasks. Really, she's the director of literacy, and our literacy scores are through the roof. So great job on that.
About how many students do you think it will be?
I think it's about 20 just from Keystone. Okay. And I sent the flyer out last, I want to say Friday, and by that evening I already had 2 come back from Mr. Portier right away.
This program is very good. My daughter, her senior year at Kutztown, when she was home over Christmas break, because they have basically most of January off, she substituted out at Elk Lake. I mean, she'd already been in the classroom as a student teacher first semester, and was doing that again the second semester.
Yeah.
And at Kutztown, they encourage them to go to schools and be substitute teachers during their break.
They absolutely learn
It's a
a
good
lot.
experience for them, and it's great for the schools.
And the nice thing is, I know when I was student teaching, I didn't get paid. So that's a whole semester, and I'm working nonstop. These kids will get paid. They'll get paid, which is great.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or discussion on that item? All right, item 14, discussion motion to approve a 7th grade parent-student survey regarding the STEM Academy on pages 115 and 116.
Thank you. I've received, in the time I've been here, in the 3 or 4 months I've been here, I've received a great deal of feedback regarding our 7th grade STEM Academy, really regarding location. And a lot of it concerns around that split, that the students are half in the intermediate center and half in essentially the administration building on the first floor. We have really looked at the intermediate center, trying to identify, is there space to house the entire STEM program? And there's a strong possibility that yes, we have a map that we could implement that would allow the STEM program to be in the intermediate center, to be in their own area of the building, to have then an innovation lab that could be used not only by the 7th grade STEM students, but by all the students in the intermediate center. So, in thinking about this, we thought it was best that perhaps we survey the parents and we survey the students about their experiences this year in the 7th grade STEM Academy. And the surveys are exceptionally short, 4 and 5 questions, and it's just all about experiences and kind of what they would like to see about the importance of having a locker, because the students in the administration center, for instance, don't have lockers that are on the first floor. How important is it for students to be all in the same building? Like, that's going to give us some tangible feedback into what direction we want to take it. I would love to see, potentially all the students in the administration building. I just don't know where we would put everyone at that point. If we were to do that, to bring them to the administration building, we would need some significant renovations to make classrooms on the second floor, and then we would need to find a space for administration somewhere in the district that was secure, that the public could enter to do business without having access also to a school if we were to go to a school location. So I thought this, having a very brief survey that we could put out online for our students to complete and our parents complete, would give us some pretty tangible data into what direction potentially they would like to see us go.
Did you say, is this current 7th grade students, or are you targeting next year's 7th grade?
Well, I want feedback from current 7th grade students. The parent survey, I'd be open to. I mean, that to me, I'd be more receptive to. More answers, the better.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Great. I think everybody would support some revisiting of what we're doing with our 7th grade program. So can we get a motion to approve? Yeah, we already got that. Can we get a roll call? Thank you, Karen.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 15, recommend, yes, there is a back page. Recommend a resolution be adopted to approving the renewal of the intergovernmental agreement between Tunkhannock Area School District and Luzerne Intermediate Unit Number 18 for the 22-23 school year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 16, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving budget transfers for the following departments. The list is presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 17, discussion, motion to approve the acceptance of the ESSER 3 grant.
At my first board meeting in February, I said that I would be coming back with a plan for the ESSER money before I asked for any of it to be spent. We were approved by the state, so now it's time to bring it back to you. This does tie nicely into our budget, and you'll see why as I go through it. It is approximately $3.8 million, our ESSER 3 grant. You do have a handout that was given out, and there were copies for the public on the stage. We did have a public ESSER meeting last night where I was able to engage with two of our community members to discuss this, but I think that this is pretty straightforward. We did set aside $900,000 for summer academic programming. That is the summer program that ran last year, but that is 2 complete years of salary, benefits, transportation, and supplies to run our current summer program. I was able to set aside, ESSER funding was really designed to get kids back into school safely. And a lot of a lot of schools tackled significant HVAC projects to make sure that it was just upgraded to current standards. We currently have a study going on by an engineering firm. I've been working with John Shapolsky, identifying some areas that we want to target, but I did set aside $1.367 million for HVAC, and we plan on combining that with the construction bond that we still have, the capital bond that we still have. That's about $1.8 million. So we do have a nice amount of money to invest directly into our schools' HVAC systems, and the areas that we're looking to target are large group areas where large numbers of students tend to gather, and it would also would provide better air circulation, and I guess air conditioning in certain areas that are used greatly, such as this space, such as the cafeterias, not only here at the high school, but the auditoriums district-wide, the cafeterias district-wide, the gymnasiums district-wide. So we have an engineering study going on to see how we can use that money, but that is a significant amount of money that I'd like to allocate towards that usage. I said it early tonight in my discussion that I want to use $80,000 to further secure our entrances and provide swipe ID cards that are custom for each staff member. So, I mean, basically we're creating a record every time someone comes into our building. So a master key or a code, it's not going to be used. It's going to be a swipe card where their ID would also gain them access to the building. So that does provide another measure of security, and John's received multiple quotes about that already. Cleaning supplies, we did allocate $70,000 for cleaning supplies. This next one is big for us. We are going to, there are no new salaries, no new positions that are going to be created with this. And the staff that we had that were grant funded, those positions have been eliminated because that's just not an ongoing cost that we can afford. But we are able to use ESSER money to supplant, which means we could offset some current costs using this money. So we're going to offset the cost of our existing Fusion teachers, our existing online teachers, their salary and benefits. So 1 year, that's a savings of $675,000 right out of that we otherwise would have had in our budget. So that's a significant savings. We've identified one teacher at the primary center, and we set aside $300,000, and we're going to offset that salary and benefits for 2 years. So that'll be a 2-year impact, $150,000 this year, or for next year, and $150,000 the year after. We have found during COVID, we brought in an additional part-time nurse at the primary center. We've been approving her almost quarterly. It really does not cost us all that much money. She is part-time. She is not on our health care because she is a part-time employee. But with offsetting $60,000 or setting aside $60,000, we could fund that position for an additional 2 school years if we needed to. Last year, the primary center, they had, or this year, I'm sorry, this school year so far, they've had 4,100 visits to the medical room by students. Significantly higher than pre-COVID, but I think there's a lot of, when someone has a minor cough or a sniffle now they get sent to the medical room to be evaluated, where that was not always the case. So I would like to keep that part-time nursing position in place at the primary center, and I think that's a pretty good use of that money. Our nurses throughout this year, now this has stopped because contact tracing is no longer required by the Pennsylvania Department of Health, but our nurses were working weekends and evenings, manning and doing contact tracing, and I'm going to use the money that was spent on that. I'm going to offset that from our budget into this ESSER money. So that's $10,000. We are setting aside $200,000 for new textbooks. These textbooks are not yet identified. There is no selection even being talked about, but certainly that is a usable, you can use ESSER money for textbook purchases. So we did set aside $200,000 for that. That's a huge help because that's something now that also would not necessarily have to come out of our general operating budget. So when we do identify textbooks, or if it's just renewal of textbooks and updating of textbooks, it'll come from this, but any new textbooks obviously will comply with our district policy on the adoption of textbooks, and we do have a policy specifically on that. Student desks were purchased earlier this school year in order to make sure that students could maintain social distancing, and that was done early in the fall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, assuming you approve this, I'm going to move some money around and have offset that with ESSER money. Chromebooks, as you know, through COVID, we were able to become a one-to-one technology district by providing iPads and Chromebooks to our students. By allocating $170,000 to Chromebooks over the next 2 years, that will allow us to maintain our one-to-one technology for all students. And the last item is the expansion of truancy reduction with HANDS of Wyoming County. Currently, we have an agreement with HANDS that they do some home visits for our K-2 students, and they're willing to expand that to K-6 for a total cost of, I think, $8,000 a school year. So $20,000 would take care of that for 2 years, and that would alleviate, initially when the ESSER 3 plan was presented in January, there was a line item in there for $150,000 for a home and school visitor. That would alleviate some of that. Well, because we would not have to hire an employee, we'd be contracting out some of these services, and this would, tackle the K-6 level actually pretty cheaply. And that would be the total allotted amount. Does anybody have any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Well, can we get a motion and a second, and then we can have a discussion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion, questions, comments from the board? I think it looks great.
Yeah, I appreciate looking at those areas where we can offset current budget to give ourselves a little bit of room to move forward.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
And if there was a scenario in which we started expanding what rooms we have climate control in, I think that there's a large majority of our community that would be very celebratory over that, so.
Yep, we're gonna do absolutely as much as we can.
All right, any other discussion?
That's great.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Discussion of the community eligibility provision for grades K to 7 and the National School Lunch Program.
I'll be extremely brief with this. Through COVID, the government provided basically a program that provided free breakfast and free lunch for every student. That has stopped. So essentially, our students at the primary center and the intermediate center will still qualify for free breakfast, I'm sorry, and STEM will still qualify for free breakfast and free lunch through and our 8 through 12 level do not qualify. So students would only qualify for free breakfast and free lunch at high school if they were on the direct certified list or if their parents filled out the paperwork and qualified. So that's no longer a benefit that's being extended to us.
So it's
from the
basically a
government.
revision back to what it was for us before COVID, because I believe our elementary schools, all the way up to 7th grade, already qualified before. So this is something that parents in grades 8 to 12 need to keep in mind, because you haven't been being charged, unless your kids are like mine and they go to the snack bar and spend like $30 a day there. But their meals have been free, the first one anyway, not if they get like 3. But the keep this in mind, because you'll have to put money on your kid's lunch account, and if you think that you would qualify for free or reduced lunch like you would have before COVID, make sure you get the paperwork and apply for that as needed, because we want to make sure every kid gets the meal. And there's kids that I'm sure will qualify, and that information is not shared, and it's not like the old days where you stood in a special line or you had a special ticket or something. If you had a free or reduced lunch, they're still punching in their code just like everybody else is. Nobody knows that the kid isn't having their account charged. Any other discussion? Okay. Item 19, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving the donation by the estate of Chris Jesscavage, did I say that? Jesscavage, yes, from T-Town Sheds, of a 26-foot twin-axle trailer and assorted replacement parts to the Career Technology Department at Tunkhannock High School.
So moved.
We got a motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Thank you very much
Thank
to
you.
the family for that donation to the district. That'll only help grow those programs and give those students some more materials to work with. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. All right, we'll open any other board comments? All right, we'll open the floor for the last round of public comment.
I think last week I mentioned that policy 105, where the kids can opt out, or the families can opt out of a certain curriculum. And it's something that you should all look at. You should always have to need all this extra intervention. It's brought to your attention. You should really look at it, because there's this opt-out idea, and you're supposed to be able to give a copy to the principal of the building. It's going to go in the kid's file. The teacher gets one, but then there's like an expectation for the kid to excuse themselves from the curriculum, or from that. So the kid could be a first grader, second grader, third grader. It should be the teacher's responsibility. I don't understand how we're expecting these young kids to know when to walk out on some kind of impromptu, there's some crazy curriculum that's going to be coming around. There's no way we can avoid it, because we have bold teachers amongst us. So there's no way that's going to stay away. And you're going to deal with it, because I've been going across the state and they're dealing with it all around us, and there's some pretty close schools that are dealing with it. The idea of, opt-in, the trail's starting to do an opt-in, because there was only 2 parents here the other night with Mr. Doherty. There's anywhere between 1,100 and 1,800 parents in this school district. Only 2 people are here to talk about a $4 million grant. That's dirty, because it has a plan that you all are embarrassed to even put onto the website. You won't even give the transparency, put the full plan on there, because you'd get such pushback, because it's dirty, and Mr. Doherty be fielding calls like crazy because he's a champion. He was able to put a narrative out that's not ugly as the plan itself. But, you know, we got to do something about this idea of it's like there's if we don't come, if you don't come and you don't see the paper on your desk or on your table at the house, you can't opt out of something. And some parents are so darn busy, they're not seeing all this paperwork, and kids are actually getting taught something there's no way their parents would want them to be taught. And that stuff's coming. We're lucky that we're as conservative as we have been in the county. You've dropped the ball on a few things, and we've highlighted it, but there's more coming. That's the whole reason I'm here. There's so much more coming. Will there be an ESSER 4 and ESSER 5, some more tainted water that a thirsty school district will drink from? It's coming, and you got to make sure that you're not doing the research. You're busy. I get it. We're busy too, but we formed a group to do all the research and go around and find this for us. But this, you got to have an opt-in, because the idea of a parent, if it's the consent idea, you're consenting to this program. So if a parent doesn't say no, does that mean yes? There should be an informed and an informed yes that they want to do this. And what does this mean? Like, what can they opt out of? Well, anything other than, you know, there's some pretty hot topics, pretty easy to figure out. But it should be an informed consent to have some of these crazy curriculums, you know, taught to the kids. And it's easy for you to figure out what they're going to be. And if you need help, we'll point them out to you where they're at and what schools they're in, because, I mean, the ESSER plan itself literally says things like, have women teacher teach the women and boy teachers teach the boys. It's in that plan. Even though we're not doing it, that's great. But what happens when they start ratcheting on his superintendent's certificate and starts threatening you? I know you all said you're not going to do the test this day. Well, our governor signed $87 million. What's the chances they're going to come? It's going to be as big a fight as the mass is going to be. And what will you do? Because with that comes the sharing of data, and we're supposed to have privacy. So you have to look at your privacy law, policies and make sure you're putting the DNA stuff and the bio stuff in there to protect the kids' privacy, because I know we got the pictures, we got the medical records, but you guys really got to try and ramp up. And I know that we gave this to the School Board Association. You guys signed a contract to do some of the policies. Well, as they're doing the bulk stuff, start fine-tuning the privacy ones for our children, and maybe start thinking about opting into some of the crazy curriculum that's going to keep coming. Because, thank you guys.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you next month.